A historian has revealed the rites for King Charles III's coronation date back hundreds of years before the Norman Conquest. When Westminster Abbey hosts the anointing and crowning of the king next month, it will be in a ceremony that has taken place on that site in some form since William the Conqueror was crowned in 1066. But Dr. Sarah Foote, the Regius Professor of Ecclesiastical History at the University of Oxford, has revealed the order of events on the big day can actually be traced back hundreds of years earlier than most people think. Dr. Foote, who wrote Athelstan, the first king of England, explains the ordo, Latin for order, of the coronation has its roots at a site 11 miles further up the River Thames. It was in Kingston-on-Thames in September 925 AD that King Athelstan became the first English monarch to be crowned king with a crown, and not with a helmet as had happened before. Despite being nearly 1,100 years ago, Dr. Foote says King Athelstan's ceremony paved the way for the traditions that will be carried out on May 6. Today all that marks King Athelstan's historic first crowning is a large sarsen stone, a glacial boulder, surrounded by railings in Kingston-on-Thames's Market Square. Dr. Foote made history herself this year by being selected the first female dean of Oxford's Christ Church College in the 500 years since its founding. She will officially take up her historic appointment in July. Dr. Foote, speaking in her role as Professor of Ecclesiastical History, said the history of the coronation goes back well before the time of William the Conqueror. Nicola Sturgeon's arrest is imminent, senior SNP members fear, she said. There is a big story here, the coronation of King Charles. It absolutely doesn't start at the Norman Conquest. The ordo, Latin for order, of the coronation service, which includes crowning and anointing for both kings and queens, goes back to the very beginning of the 10th century, or even to the time of Alfred the Great. And the first occasion on which we are positive it was used is for King Athelstan in Kingston-on-Thames in 925 AD. Yes, Westminster Abbey was used by William the Conqueror, and yes, King Charles III will be crowned there, but the coronation service itself goes back much further than that. Kingston is on the borders between the ancient Kingdom of Wessex, south of the Thames, where Athelstan's royal family came from, and the Kingdom of Mercia, which Wessex had conquered. Kingston was deliberately chosen because it is at a river crossing to mark the union of the two peoples of Wessex and Mercia into one. Piers Morgan issues apology to Talk TV viewers as show forced off air after blunder. Athelstan's coronation in September 925 made him king of the Anglo-Saxons, the West Saxons of Wessex and the Mercians. He is the first English king that we know wore a crown as a symbol of royal authority, not a helmet which was the symbol worn before that. We know this because there are surviving portraits of Athelstan. There is a manuscript portrait of him giving a book to Saint Cuthbert, and on some of his coins, he has a crowned head. Dr. Foote also revealed the order of King Athelstan's coronation was probably even older and used before for his father at an unknown location. She said, "We know it probably came before this because there is a rite in the ceremony for the ritual for anointing and crowning of a queen, as well as a king, and Athelstan never married. So, the form of words which involves a promise on the king's part to look after the realm and protect the church, then the anointing and crowning of the king, then the anointing of the head and crowning of the queen goes back to the 10th century. And so way before the Norman Conquest. Lord Mountbatten at centre of mysterious MI6 death concealed for 100 years. Foote said the coronation stone was now in the Market Square but had previously been within the Church of St. Mary. She said, The chapel of St. Mary dates from before the Norman Conquest and was destroyed in 1750. The stone was definitely inside the chapel and then it was moved to the Guildhall in the marketplace. It was in the 1850s when it was restored and it was put in the enclosure that it is in now, which was funded by a local Masonic order. The place where the stone sits now in the town is where in the 1850s they thought the king's palace used to be. The stone, which is a piece of glacial boulder, is mounted on a hexagonal base and surrounded by railings. On the base are the names of all the kings who are thought to have been crowned there. It's a memorial that takes us right back into the early years of the 10th century. King Charles I's coronation service will begin at 11 a.m. on Saturday, May 6 at Westminster Abbey. The ceremony will be followed by a weekend of events, including a concert at Windsor Castle. World on brink of financial crash as BOE warned it stays away from sparking recession.